Today we will talk about Alberta Express Entry stream. So really good stream if you want to settle in Alberta. And the reason is many. One is Alberta in itself is a really good province in terms of the job opportunities and also the cost of living. The taxes are low, the housing prices are low, and really two big cities. You have Calgary and Edmonton there. Apart from that, there's some benefit to Alberta Express Entry stream. One of them is that the CRS score is pretty low. So the minimum CRS score they require is 300, which is as compared to what you are getting in a typical normal general draw is around 500 right now. So in that way, it's a really good one. And they have many subcategories, and we will discuss that in today's presentation. Before that, I want to introduce myself. My name is DIL Sandhu, and I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant based out of Ontario, Canada. And I've created many such videos on different PNPs, immigration pathways, tips and tricks. And I think you can always subscribe to my channel, and I think you will benefit from that because I have made very comprehensive videos, tried my best to, give as much information in the shortest possible time. So without any further ado, let's dive into today's presentation. So now let's look at the overview. So this is an express entry based stream. So what does it mean? It means that you must have an express entry profile valid before you would be eligible to apply for this stream, right? And the other thing is that you are unable to apply for nomination in this stream without an invitation to apply. So the first step is you receive a notification of interest to apply, right? And this is pretty common for most of the things except for the accelerated tech pathway, in which there is a slightly different process. We will talk about that. And the applicant send the copy of notification interest letter along with additional information to the AAIP, which is the Alberta PNP, by email within 2 weeks. And then AAIP will send you an email with a link inviting you to apply. Now, these are the estimated allocations in 2023. And if you see that Alberta Express Entry stream has basically 4 subcategories under which they have different allocations. So the 4 subcategories are family connection and occupations in demand, which has estimated 1,220 allocations for 2023. Then you have dedicated healthcare pathway. Then you have an accelerated tech pathway. And then there are priority sectors, which are agriculture, construction, tourism, and hospitality, right? Now let's look at the minimum requirements. So you may receive a notification of interest or be considered for accelerated tech pathway if you have an active express entry profile and you have at least met one of the criteria for one of the programs, right? It could be Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Trades Program, or Federal Skilled Worker Program. Another important thing is that your primary occupation in your Federal Express Entry profile is an occupation in demand, and you intend to live and work permanently in Alberta, and your minimum CRS score is 300, and your primary occupation is not on the Alberta Opportunity Stream ineligible occupation list. Now let's look at the chances of selection. Your chances of receiving a notification of interest letter or preference from the AAIP may increase if you have an Alberta job offer, you are a graduate of a Canadian post-secondary institution, you have a parent, child, or sibling who is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident living in Alberta, French is your first language, your express entry profile is valid for more than 5 months, right? So these are the things which might increase your chances of selection. Now let's look at the first subcategory, which is family connection and primary occupation in demand. So AAIP is basing occupation in demand in Alberta using one or more of the approaches, right? In-demand occupations with significant cumulative imbalance on the Alberta's occupational outlook, or occupations in high or moderately high demand in short-term employment forecast. If you go to the website, their official website, you will find a link where they have basically shared what kind of occupations are in demand, or high in demand, or moderately high in demand. So, those have a higher chance of being picked up. Then you have select occupations in the agriculture, healthcare, construction, tourism, and hospitality sectors. Another thing is that principal applicant, if they have a family connection, so principal applicant having a parent, child, sibling in Alberta, who is 18 years of age and is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, will improve the chances further. Then you have the dedicated healthcare pathway. So the allocations are pretty low, and one of the reasons could be it's very difficult to qualify in a way. right? So first thing is your primary occupation must be in the eligible NOC code, and you have a valid verifiable job offer from an Alberta employer in the healthcare sector, right? And the important thing is in this is that you need to meet the minimum requirements prescribed by the applicable regulatory authority to be able to practice in that eligible healthcare profession. So if you can see the kind of healthcare professions they listed are physicians, registered nurses, physician assistants, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, clinical social workers, psychologists, and so on. Then we have the accelerated tech pathway. So this is slightly different from the other kind of subcategories. In what way? In other subcategories, what will happen is, as long as you have an Express Entry profile, the AAIP will send you the notification of interest. In this case, you will submit the accelerated tech pathway form. And what are the requirements? In order to be invited, you should meet the minimum requirements for the Alberta Express Entry stream. You are working full-time in Alberta under an employment contract or have a bona fide job offer of full-time employment based in Alberta, and you meet the job offer and the current employment contract requirements in the assessment criteria in an occupation on the list of eligible accelerated tech pathway occupation. So they have a list. Let me just share that with you. If you go here, so you will find that there is a list which are the eligible occupations. So it's just not tech occupations, right? So if you can see that even you have human resource managers, you even have civil engineers, mechanical engineers, you even have corporate sales managers, graphic designers. So many of them are kind of eligible. And the other requirement is for an Alberta employer whose business activity belongs to the Alberta tech industry, as defined by the NAICS codes, right? So this is important to understand. One thing is that you can have an eligible occupation, which could be a human resource manager or a corporate sales manager, but you should be working in a tech industry, right, which is defined as a tech industry. So that is important. So if I click on this, you will find out that these are the kind of NAICS codes which your company should be, the employer should be engaged in, right? So you have like electric power distribution, generation, you could have software publishers, motion picture and video industries, and so on and so forth. So you can always look into this specific list. And the other thing is that you need to meet a minimum wage or salary requirements, right? If you are on an LMIA based work permit, then you need to meet or exceed the requirements of the wages in LMIA. And if you do not have an LMIA, then you should exceed the lowest starting wage for occupations across all industries in Alberta. Apart from that, if you're already working in Alberta, then you should be on a work permit or valid status, and your primary occupation in your Express Entry profile is the same occupation as your current Alberta employment or job offer. And then we have come to the last subcategory, which is priority sectors. So these are the priority sectors: agriculture, construction, tourism, and hospitality. So one of the things which is very different for Alberta PNP versus, let's say, Ontario, is that Ontario would tell you what occupations they have selected. Alberta doesn't. So that doesn't give us, so we can only guess and make conjectures, but there is nothing concrete we can come up with. So these are the list of ineligible occupations. So it could be legislators, secondary school teachers, home child care providers, and so on. You can always refer to this list and see for yourself whether your occupation falls in this. Now let's talk about the Alberta job offer or current employment contract requirements. So your job offer or current employment contract must be from a legitimate, established, and a verifiable Alberta employer, right? And the job offer must be bona fide, signed by the employer and you, and must be a continuous paid work under an employee-employee relationship, employment for 12 months or more, and full-time work, which is defined as at least 30 hours per week. And the wages and benefits must meet or exceed provincial minimum wage level, right? And the work location has to be in Alberta, so you can't be, working remotely from anywhere else, right? So what are the application steps typically are, right? So in all the three subcategories, other than the accelerated tech pathway, so what you have to do is you need to have an Express Entry profile, and you will get a notification of interest. After you receive a notification of interest from Alberta, you must email a copy of the letter to AAIP within 2 weeks of receiving it with your federal Express Entry profile, provide the profile number and all the other information which must have been mentioned. If you are in the accelerated tech pathway candidate, you should complete the accelerated tech pathway form. The AAIP will review the information in the form and determine if you are meet the eligible criteria. And if you meet the eligible minimum criteria, the AAIP will send you an email inviting you to apply. So in both the cases, at the end of the day, you have to get an invitation to apply. You just can't do it yourself, right? Then the step 2 and step 3 are pretty much the same thing. So basically, you need to get an email with a link to apply to AAIP portal, right? And when you submit the application, so they will review against the assessment criteria, and you must meet all the assessment criteria at the time of the application and assessment, right? And your application will be declined if you do not meet the criteria. And when you submit the application, make sure that you use the online portal, AAIP online portal, and pay the application fee, which is $500. Right. The next step is decision on your application. If your AAIP application is approved, you will become a provincial nominee and receive a nomination certificate through the Federal Express Entry portal. So you must accept the nomination within 30 days after it is issued through the Federal Express Entry profile. So what will happen is that you will go to your profile, the Express Entry profile, and you will have an option to accept the nomination within 30 days. After you accept the nomination, you will have 600 points added to your profile. That pretty much guarantees that whenever the new next Express Entry draw will happen, so you will be invited. In some cases, if you need a work permit, you need a work permit support letter, and you can use that letter to work in Alberta. So if you need any help, my contact information is 437-848-7200. You can always book an appointment by visiting my website, which is www.dilimmigration.com. And you can always hop onto my YouTube channel as well, which is at DIL Sandhu Talks, where you can find many videos on immigration programs, pathways, tips and tricks, and many latest information on the immigration. So if you do like the video, please like and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you are notified every time I create a new video. So thank you so much and have a wonderful Canadian immigration journey.